It's me, Buddha Blaze from the Blaze Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, my peoples, every Thursday. And I'm here with a beautiful lady who's been my host in New York, a great artist, a great poet, a very important person for our culture, hip hop, Africa, and just the rest of the world. Toni Blackman.
Hey.
How you doing, sis?
Good.
It's good to have you in Nairobi.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic.
I'm excited to be here, actually.
Fantastic, man. Nairobi needs you. We're just here to really find out what Toni's doing. She's been doing a lot of things across America, across Africa. She's a sister. She's one of us. She's an activist. She's just an all-round great person that's been doing great work, trying to connect both the continents. She's done work in Senegal, done work in Uganda, done work in South Africa, Botswana, and now, for the first time, she's here in Nairobi, hanging out with us and just, being a lovely person and bringing her presence.
Finally here in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I've been hearing about Nairobi forever. First through, Kimati.
Yes, of course.
And Michael Wanguru.
Kimati, what up?
Saying you gotta get to Nairobi. And what I'm most excited about right now is the creative energy that's bustling here.
Yeah.
And the amount of creative brilliance that's being produced. And the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibe, it hits you right away.
Great.
The work ethic of the artist, the ideas, the willingness to listen and grow. It's been really good.
Great,
Yeah.
great. I mean, as we know, Nairobi's on the other side of the continent. A lot of activities happening in South Africa, West Africa. Nigeria is dominating that space. Kenya has a lot of creativity. We just haven't been able to tap in. How do you see yourself from just the work that you do, being able to elevate that and make that happen?
Well, one of the things I'm excited about building a relationship here in Kenya is that this long-term vision I have of being able to have some sort of institutionalized base or partnership, because the work that I've already done so far, and I haven't been here long yet, I'll be here the whole month, is working with Nemo and the crew at Turning Tables. Where she brought together a bunch of women MCs, poets, singers, and we did, essentially it was a cipher workshop, but it was an artist development experience.
Because that's what's lacking nowadays.
That's what's lacking across the board, all over the world. And how do we create, I've been trying to figure out how do we create an experience where artists who are developing can be more confident, be more fully self-expressed, be more rooted in honoring their own unique voices, and not feeling like they have to imitate someone else in order to be successful.
Word.
And it's tied to being able to harness your own power.
Word.
And that's what I've been doing with MCs for 20 years.
What's the one thing that people should know about Toni Blackman? And this is what you're about, whether you're on the continent of America, whether you're on the continent of Africa. What's the one thing that you want to give people away and be like, all right, cool, this is what I'm about. This is Toni Blackman.
One of the things that's most important to me is understanding, I see myself as a global citizen. I've done a lot of work that I've done via the U.S. Embassy support and Africa Exchange Foundation that was run by Maureen Knighton and Baraka Sele and a few other arts presenters. And then some festival support. But with or without that, I'm independently going to be here because I know that, Africa spoke to me when I was 2 years old. I've known since I was 2 years old that I would be in Africa. I became truly committed to it when I was in undergrad and university. And then
you went to
I went to Howard University, the Mecca of Black education.
The Mecca of Black colleges.
And so it's resonated with me ever since. And I've been doing work on the continent, 20 years.
Nice. 20
years going back and forth. And so who I am now is I'm an artist. I am a social entrepreneur. I am a Pan-Africanist who truly, truly believes that our salvation, our victory lies in our unification and in the celebration of who it is and what we are at the core.
That's great.
Without compromise. Like being fully present to the soul and what exists when we get open. And not trying to manage it, control it, temper it.
Just enjoying it.
But enjoying it. And if that means nakedness and vulnerability, that's important. And, I'm committed to continuing to live in my life. As an entrepreneur, I do more subcontracting type of work, but I still work for myself.
Great.
And as an artist, I'm writing books. My hip hop meditation project, I have a new agent.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my hip hop meditation, and then I have the collaborations I'm doing with African artists.
Toni is the founder of this amazing project called Rhyme Like a Girl.
Yeah.
Tell us more about it.
Well, Rhyme Like a Girl grew out of the Freestyle Union Cypher workshop, which had some of the dopest MCs in the world, superior lyricists, who also freestyled so well, you would think they were doing writtens.
Yeah.
And it grew out of this jam session where we would get together, sitting in the circle in the cypher, and we'd have freestyle topics. We had ground rules, and everybody adhered to them because they got something out of it, and it became so intense, it evolved into this sacred space.
Nice.
Like people were channeling something, I don't know what, but getting so open they would go into new zones. But then that would then impact their performance of their songs and their written material.
That's great.
Because now you're more comfortable in your own skin. You're not just, a lot of these rap acts, they walk back and forth on stage. You can't feel them. They don't even move themselves.
I've seen enough of that.
It's a lot of that. And so the thing that Rhyme Like a Girl was born because I realized that it wasn't just, sexism holding women down. It was the lack of understanding we have of energy.
Yeah.
There's masculine energy, there's feminine energy. And sometimes feminine energy just didn't want to become masculine in order to grab a mic.
Okay.
So Rhyme Like a Girl was about creating a space for women to build their skills amongst other women, and just being able to stay true to who they are and who they want to be.
And also giving them the confidence to be able to have the energy when they get on stage.
And also to have the energy and to learn how to work together. Because there's something very powerful when you have, one woman MC who's dope is dope.
Yeah.
But when you got 5, 6, or 7 of them together, it's fire.
Fire.
Yeah, and that's what I'm most excited about here in Nairobi.
Okay. So do you think you bring Rhyme Like a Girl to Nairobi?
That's the vision.
Okay.
And I would love to be able to do the artist development workshops with MCs. Like I'm going to be doing, they aren't MCs, they're like videographers, music producers. We're doing a media training here in Nairobi. Yeah, with about 8 of them.
You got dates for that?
We don't have a date yet, no. But we're doing it here before I leave because they saw me doing it with the ladies.
Nice.
And then the fella was like, hey, can you help us?
Yeah.
So we're going to do that too.
You heard that, Toni Blackman, she's here, she's talking to us, just, telling us what she's doing on the continent, things that she's been doing in the States, straight out of Brooklyn, and she's here, man. Tell us, the first time you came to Kenya, how do you feel?
Well, I was so relieved to be here because it's a long time coming, but also there was snow back home. I beat the snowstorm.
You want to get out of that snow?
And so walking in, my friend, she said, it's just so hot and dusty. I said, I'll take hot and dusty right about now. But going to the events and hearing the music and the warmth of Kenyan people. I think we were just at Africa Nouveau Festival. And I met so many people that I don't know, just randomly, because of the energy.
That's a Kenyan thing.
And the way Kenyan people are. And I wasn't aware of that, that it would be so dope.
That's it. You had to come and experience it. And how's the feeling? How does it compare to being, because you've been all over the continent. What are some of your experiences that you take from other different countries that you can you see that are here, or some that are not here?
Well, I think there's something that's intrinsic to Africa and the continent. There's a certain level of where you can breathe, and so it's really a research trip to see what kind of base can I build in Nairobi, what kind of relationships can I build. I'm pleased so far. I feel like I've received more love and support than I have anywhere else on the continent. I think that now is just now time for me to blossom.
That's it.
And for the work to blossom. I know a lot of people dreaming of this journey to the continent, but I would say the easiest thing is to just do it. And to use social media to your advantage. There's so many people you can meet just online prior to your trip. And to not travel like a Westerner. Don't schedule a 5-day trip. and think you're gonna accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
You need to travel like a global citizen.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself 2 or 3 weeks at least to be able to get to know people, get to know the food,
and don't
get to know the
stand out
culture.
too much.
Yeah.
Blend in.
Oh, and another big thing is those tensions that happen between folks on the continent and folks over in the U.S. or the Caribbean. I think it's really important for us to be conscious of what underlying beliefs our societal programming we have about one another.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily our fault.
It's
Some of
not
these
our
things are colonial
colonialism.
remnants, a lot of things that happen.
Colonialism is alive and well in our
yeah.
subconscious minds, in our thinking, and our attitudes, and in our choices and how we interact with one another.
Okay.
We've got to overcome that because all we got is us.
I always do something called 3 tips. What are the 3 tips for an African American artist or an artist from the diaspora who wants to visit the continent?
Okay.
What are those 3 tips?
One of the tips is to don't worry if everything's not planned out.
Okay.
To
Tip
trust your gut, follow your instinct. That's 1. And then 2, to be about the business of relationship building, not just networking. Like, go deeper than networking. Like, introduce yourself to people who you want to be friends with. Introduce yourself to people who resonate with who you are and with your soul. And you'll be so surprised that even though you might speak different languages, have different cultural backgrounds, how much you have in common with that person.
Okay. And the 3rd tip?
The 3rd tip would be to don't sleep on Africa.
Don't sleep on Africa.
The level of talent, the level of creativity, the level of ingenuity and brilliance is super high. Bring your A game, bring your best game, and put your heart in it.
You heard it. 3 tips with Toni Blackman. One of the things that's really visible in the global music business is that there is no artist development. There's no budgets anymore. You don't see enough people. I mean, there's no A&Rs anymore. A&Rs are doing it on their own accord. They're not getting paid by record labels. They're not getting paid by anybody to develop the artists. What do you think about that?
Well, there's that's happening, and what I did was, instead of complaining, is it just got productive. And a lot of the work that I do through the Cypher and the Cypher Workshop is about artist development. That's about exposing a rapper to breath control. The same training that a singer would get. We had Jeremiah Abia, the master voice teacher and superior vocalist, the Abia Way. He did a workshop with 30 MCs at our Cypher Summit at High Arts NYC in Harlem, in New York. And so I want to bring in a dance professor. You know, a lot of cats don't move. So learning how to move your body properly so that you feel comfortable in your skin. Working with someone who teaches drama or public speaking and those sorts of things, so that artists can then expand who they are. Particularly, I'm thinking about hip hop because I'm hip hop. And thinking about MCs and the ways that they can become greater. And then what happens if you go on tour and you don't know how to breathe properly and use your voice properly? You lose your voice. But there are ways to prevent voice loss and vocal strain if you know how to use your voice and the breathing. So those basic things and the basics of professionalism. A lot of artists don't understand what professionalism looks like, and so they need to be taught that. And so that will come through mentorship. Identifying mentors for the artists. Even if mentorship is just through speaking programs or a series of workshops where artists can get guidance, so they're not guessing about what to do and how to do it. And I think that's an important part of capacity building. And then they need it, and giving artists opportunities to know, okay, so you did this and you really don't want to be a recording artist, because now you see what that involves.
It entails.
But you still want to work as an artist or in the arts or in entertainment.
Because your place could be totally somewhere else. Could be behind the camera, could be in writing. So what about branding and management?
Branding and management, it's a thing where, remember back in the day, somebody else handled everything. Now you have to
be on top of it.
You are your own business. And you can avoid, one of my biggest mistakes in my career I tried to avoid handling business.
It's very important.
And that left me butt out. You know what I mean? You need to know the basics of handling your own business.
At least get to know what your manager's doing.
Know what they're doing. And then you're protected. And you can move more swiftly, and then you can choose a good manager. because you can know whether or not they're doing great
they're
at
doing
their
a good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Listen, this is it. You heard it from Toni Blackman. Follow her at Toni Blackman on Instagram and on Twitter, right here on the Blaze Podcast. Salute.
Peace.